Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sports Legends of the Carolinas. I'm your host, Scott Fowler, sports columnist for the Charlotte Observer, where I've worked since 1994. And as always in this podcast, I'm traveling across the Carolinas, seeking out some of my very favorite sports legends and asking them to tell the stories behind their rise to iconic status. For this episode, we're in Chapel Hill, home of the University of North Carolina. It's long past time we had a soccer star on this podcast, and today we're going to do just that as we speak with 3-time Olympic gold medalist Heather O'Reilly. Heather O'Reilly was one of the all-time greats at one of the all-time greatest dynasties in college sports, the UNC women's soccer team. O'Reilly helped lead the Tar Heels to 2 NCAA championships in 2003 and 2006, and UNC has retired her jersey. She was already a member of the U.S. women's national team while in school at Chapel Hill. She won Olympic gold medals with that squad in 2004, 2008, and 2012, as well as winning the Women's World Cup with the U.S. women's national team in 2015. After a long national and international soccer career, she has returned to Chapel Hill, where she coaches soccer and chases after her 2 young sons. Next, it's Heather O'Reilly on Sports Legends of the Carolinas. Heather, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott, for that very kind and generous introduction.
Well, it's a long resume to read. You've accomplished a lot at age 39, I think, right? Yes. And you have only recently retired from playing.
Well, there was a couple, comebacks along the way, but I retired from international play in 2016, and I formally retired from play in 2019. Now, I'm one of those people that loves the game of soccer. So some people retire and never put their soccer shoes back on. I am if there's a pickup game to be played, I'm out there. So I did have an opportunity to lace them back up and play a few years ago with a team in Ireland, which seemed very bizarre to people.
What has you coming out of retirement and playing with Shelburne in Ireland?
Well, listen, I had a wonderful career that I'm very proud of, and I got to accomplish a lot of my goals. But one thing that was sort of off the resume was playing Champions League football.
But there was one competition that I had never checked the box off at Champions League in Europe, and I wanted to do it. So I went and did it, and that was just a couple years ago. But talking about my formal retirement, it was 2019.
And yet you played in the soccer tournament, right, this summer, and your team won $1 million in this winner-take-all tournament. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I remember exactly, I was laying on my couch, just scrolling on my phone, as we all do, and I was reading an article that was talking about this 7-a-side competition that ironically was going to be held in North Carolina, and the winner of the tournament would take home $1 million. And my face lit up because this was all the things that I love. I was like, wait, this thing's in North Carolina. As I just said, I love playing still. I'm healthy enough, knock on wood, that I can still, not the same way that I used to, but I can still move around the pitch and enjoy the game and play at a pretty high level. And so as I'm reading this article, I'm I contact the people right away and say, I want to put in a team. And they're thrilled, right? Because they were a new organization, and they, knew that having a couple prominent figures could help promote the tournament. So sort of in collaboration with the tournament organizers, I put in an all-women's team last year. And we were the only all-women's team in the tournament. You'll have to excuse my voice, by the way. I have a little bit of a sore throat, but here we are. Yeah. Here we are. Because I'm always busy. I got the kids, we're never firing on all cylinders. So anyways, last year I put in an all women's team, And yeah, listen, we got our butts kicked by the men's teams as expected. Obviously, they're like just more physically dominant, but we were the most popular team at Wake Med Soccer Park in Cary. Like, got the biggest crowds. Everybody was cheering for us, even if it was 8-0. The crowd was going wild for every touch that we had. And I think that the tournament organizers recognized that, and they're like, you guys are the fan favorites, and nobody expects that you're going to win, but they're still like super proud to get behind you and celebrate the tradition of the women's national team. Obviously, we couldn't call ourselves the women's national team alumni, but essentially, more or less, that's what it was. I got most of my cronies from the U.S. women's national team that would come out and wanted to take part in this, and got Mia Hamm to be on the coaching staff. Carla Overbeck, who obviously is local, coaching at Duke right now, she was on the coaching staff. We were able to get Michelle Akers and a bunch of people that obviously still played. So fast forward to this year, they of course wanted us again to take part in the tournament, but after some back and forth with myself and the tournament organizers, we decided that they needed an all-women's bracket. And at first they were kind of trying to tell me that it wouldn't be for $1 million. It would be a smaller pool of teams, therefore a smaller prize money. And I just said, well, just forget about it. Just don't do that, right? Like, not that it was ever okay in 2024. That's not going to fly to have not equal prize money. So to their credit, they took that conversation seriously, and they said, okay, I think we're going to get there. And they did. So $1 million for the guys, $1 million prize for the women. And so then I got my squad back together, bolstered it a little bit with some young blood, because now we're actually going for the win. And we did it. It was such a blast.
And this could be it. U.S. women for the million! Pay these women their money! They're taking home $1 million!
Did you play a lot? I mean,
yeah, I played a lot.
Yeah.
I played a lot. Like, yeah. Still able to contribute, but like nobody beats Father Time, put it that way. I think Tom Brady got close, but even he couldn't do it, right? So especially a fast twitch athlete like myself in their late 30s, like I would be naive to think that I can do the same things that I did in my 20s. But certainly, I was like the leader of the team, and I was the captain, and I was smart enough to get some young
How did
legs
y'all split the money up?
Well, every player on the team went home with a $40,000 check. So that was nice. We split it evenly. Yeah. And then we had a big staff, as you can imagine, because not everybody can play still, right? A lot of people have banged up knees and ankles and concussion stuff and whatever. So we had like a staff of like 10 people. So we split it evenly. Everybody, staff went home with like 15 grand, and players went home with 40. And we all had a grand old time celebrating that one for a couple days work, getting together with your friends playing soccer. It's not a bad weekend to work.
Wow. No, not at all. Is that returning next year?
It is returning to Wake Med once again. It was a 3-year contract that the tournament had with Wake Med, and it's been great there. I think the dates for this year were just announced as the 5th through 9th of June. I'm going to, obviously relish it while it's in North Carolina, because who knows, might go to LA or Dallas or New York or something like that.
We'll be back right after this.
It feels like you can get your credit scores anywhere these days. Random websites, card statements, budgeting apps, heck, even your dog might bark out a few numbers. It's true. Credit Karma isn't the only place you can find them. But we actually do more with your scores to help you find your next financial opportunity. Like a more rewarding credit card, a game plan that helps you pay down debt faster, or a personal loan to help you save more on interest payments each month. Cha-ching! The possibilities are kinda endless. Download Intuit Credit Karma today to get started.
Welcome back. Let's back up a little bit. So tell me, how'd you get into soccer in the first place?
So I grew up in New Jersey, youngest of 4 kids. I was the only girl. So I had 3 older brothers that were super active in all different sports, but particularly soccer. And as anybody knows, maybe more in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, now everywhere is a melting pot, right? But in those times, it was the Northeast was just like a lot of people from Europe that were coaching soccer. So I just had really great like English coaches, Irish guys that came over so soccer was like, it was just a very prominent sport in my town and my community. And New Jersey, yep, East Brunswick, New Jersey, about 30 miles south of New York City. And so a couple of events were really critical to my love for the game. And the first one was the 94 Men's World Cup that was held at Giant Stadium. And I was only 9 at the time. I'm born in 85. But my parents did a great job like taking us to the games and exposing us to that. I remember going to see Ireland play Italy and just tailgating in the parking lot and kicking the soccer ball around, and my brothers painting their faces and all that. And we just really got into it. And I, for the first time, like saw the global reach of the game, right? And then follow that up a few years later at the 99 Women's World Cup, which was also at Giant Stadium, now called MetLife. Obviously, you know, all the sponsors of those stadiums changed, but in my day, it was called Giant Stadium. And a really, really critical time of my life. I was 14 years old, was obviously a very good player at that age. But, you know, when teenage girls are excelling at something, I think I was almost embarrassed by my talent, or I tried to downplay it because I wanted to be liked and accepted by my peers. And so that 99 World Cup was just really critical in those formative times of my development, to just be like, there's no hiding excellence. And I just saw Mia Hamm and Julie Foudy and all these incredible athletes like perform at the highest level. I saw Mia score. 60,000 people are going crazy.
Now to Akers. Up the middle, not a down by Hamm. The return up for Parlow. Leaves it off. Here's Mia Hamm in the box. The shot. Goal! She's got the record!
And that 99 team really put female athletes on the map. And I remember being at like the grocery store and seeing them on the People magazine cover and just really feeling like, oh my gosh, like they're superstars. And at that young age, me just being like, I want to do that. I want to do that.
And it was only a few years later. When was it when you were you were actually the youngster on that team? How old were you?
So, yeah, it was just a few years later. 2002, I got my first call up to the national team. And yeah, inspired by that 99 generation. But at that point, I was just a kid. I was 17 years old, playing for my high school soccer team, playing for my high school basketball team, and called up to play alongside women that I had posters of, essentially. And
how did they treat you?
Idols.
A 17-year-old. I mean, and here's all these veterans that have done all, Mia Hamm and Brandy Chastain and all these people.
They were kind.
No tough love on that?
There was a little bit of tough love. One time in particular, I slept through breakfast because, you know, as teenagers do. I don't know. I just hit off my alarm or something. And they played a trick on me that day, that they said that because some people were late, we were going to run sprints. So we all get on the sideline and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't, I'm going to first of all be cut. These people are going to hate me. We're running extra because I was late, or missed breakfast rather. And then we get on the line and I'm thinking I got to bust it to and I was a fast runner. So I wanted to sort of show off my strength. So I blitz out of there and take off and get 75% of down the field before I realized that nobody's even running with me. It was just a little bit of a trick played on me. And they loved that I was so cocky, I think is the right word, that I was so far in front of people that nobody would be even in my peripheral vision. But that kind of attitude and kind of delusional self-belief, I think, is what got me there in the first place, right? So they sort of put their arm around me and were like, this is how we do things here. Cool it, kid, a little bit. Don't miss breakfast again. We have some team rules, but welcome to the family, and I think from that very tender age, the national team was super weaved in my identity, because like I said, it's I made the team at such a young age. And so from age 17 to 31, it was a major part of my life.
Christine Lilly with the ball right now, with the game's only goal back in the 64th minute. Could we have a second one? Heather O'Reilly, Yvette, her first international goal with the senior team.
And did your positioning change ever during those 14 years?
Yeah, it did. So I started out as a striker, as just like an out-and-out goal scorer. And about midway through my national team reign, I was moved to outside midfield. Again, I think to dissect my like physical qualities, my coach recognized that like I have a good aerobic base. My dad was actually a track athlete at University of Villanova. So I kind of have the runner's genes, and I was also quick too. So not only could I go, the whole game, but I was fast. So in soccer, they liked me on the wing. So I made a kind of a position change from center forward to wing, which probably led me to a longer career because it's hard to maintain unless you're Cristiano Ronaldo, Mia Hamm, maybe even Abby Wambach. You can throw to be the go-to goal scorer. Like you have to be top of your game, right? So I became sort of the assist artist and the one that was known for work ethic and setting players up. Sometimes I would score, of course. Everybody loves to score, but I added a layer to my game in that way. I made it challenging because you're used to being like the star, and all of a sudden you're kind of like the Robin to the other Batman. Yeah. But I was always embraced as a real team player, and I think that allowed me that 14-year national team international career.
What was the most significant goal you ever scored, do you think, at any level? And this maybe is a different answer. What was the prettiest goal you ever scored?
Oh, man. I think the most significant goal that I scored, I'm actually going to turn that and say that it was an assist because, I did score some big goals, but I'm really proud of this one play that I had in the 2012 Olympics in London. We were playing at Old Trafford, which any soccer fan knows is the home of Manchester United, in a real back and forth game against Canada. And unfortunately, I didn't start that game. Like during the tournament, sometimes I would start, sometimes Tobin Heath would start. And, any listeners familiar with the name Tobin Heath, another Tar Heel that I know the Tar Heel State is very proud of. So Tobin and I were, very dear friends, but unfortunately competitors for playing time at some patches of our national team career. So during the tournament, unfortunately, sometimes I didn't start and Tobin started. She was doing great and deserved it. But in that semifinal game, I was called on to come off the bench when it was 3-3. And I went into the game, and with literally, I don't know, it was 20 seconds away from going to penalty kicks, which, as you know, could go completely any way. I was able to put like a picture perfect cross into Alex Morgan when she was able to head in.
One back, space on the right-hand side for Heather O'Reilly. Morgan in the box, one back in the box. Here comes the cross. Oh, it's in! Alex Morgan has done it! Barely 30 seconds to go.
Which I think that anybody that that doesn't start or feels demoted or gets kind of kicked down a little bit, to have that perseverance and that focus and that resilience to still be able to contribute and do my job well. I think I'm really proud of it. I became very proud of my crossing ability. It was kind of an art, you hear bend it like Beckham. And that's what I, kind of tried to do as a right-footed winger, to really learn the craft of putting good crosses into the box. And
there is an art to it for
playing
sure.
with somebody like Abby Wambach, it made sense, she was such a physical, dominant player and was so good with her head, right? So her and I were kind of like the 1-2 punch. So that is a play that I'm very, very proud of. The prettiest goal, I was able to score a real rocket in the 2011 World Cup in group play against Colombia.
Salazar, given away to O'Reilly. Oh, that's a fantastic goal. Heather O'Reilly, her 30th international goal.
Took a couple touches and just ripped it, I guess. Those are, shots that you work on at training and you hit one once in a while, but it's so cool to see it, translate to a huge match like today.
Yeah, just one time to blast from outside the box. And that's one of the ones that I can kind of look at YouTube or whatever if I see a clip of it. And, it's a bit surreal. I'm like, was that me? Like, that was a good hit. So that's one. Once my kids are a little older to like understand what I was able to accomplish, that's the goal I'm going to show them time and time again.
Nice. Nice to have that in the back pocket. We'll be back right after this.
Feel your max with Brooks Running and the all-new Ghost Max 2. They're the shoes you deserve, designed to streamline your stride and help protect your body. Treat yourself to feel-good landings on an ultra-high stack of super comfy nitrogen-infused cushion that takes the edge off every step, every day. The Brooks Ghost Max 2. Technically, they're a form of self-care. Brooks, let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
Welcome back. So you were mentioning about what goal you would show your children. Tell me a little bit about your family and your kids and how you balance motherhood with everything else you're doing.
Yeah, I think when I retired from soccer, one of the reasons I retired, I was 34 and I'd done it, right? Like I was, as we talked about earlier, I don't want to call myself a child prodigy, but like I, was well beyond my years in terms of my soccer career. So when you're in your 30s, it's just kind of like, you've done it. I did it. Play was starting to fall a little bit, which is a harsh reality. And there comes a point in every athlete's career where you have to just kind of assess when it's the right time. And so in 2017, I went over to London and played with Arsenal because that was sort of this one thing that I had done, right? Like I was such a USA player that before I retired, I wanted to play in Europe. So I played for Arsenal for 1.5 years. And I thought that would be the cherry on top. Like, again, I had done it, but I wasn't quite ready, like mentally, emotionally to be done. And so then I finished my career with the North Carolina Courage, which was perfect because this is, of course, as we know, where it all began for me. Literally, Wake Med Soccer Park in Cary. The number of ACC games that I've had or national championships that I played in, but to be able to literally finish my career there on the North Carolina Courage, and we hosted my final season, the final, and we won. So I walked off the pitch with my hands raised in the air, standing ovation, all that kind of stuff, family able to be in the crowd. And yeah, so that was the end. But then what people didn't realize in that final game is that I was pregnant. Just, very, very early at that point. Yeah. That was 2019. But, we're doing the champagne in the locker room and I'm like giving a toast and I'm like, but I can't drink it because I'm pregnant. And all the jaws were like on the ground because I obviously just played 90 minutes. And,
wow. Yeah.
That's a good way to announce it. Exactly. So, yeah, that obviously made the transition a little bit easier because I had this new frontier to look forward to. And I have 2 sons, William and Jack. They are 17 months apart. So William is my oldest little guy. He's 4. And then I didn't wait too long because, at that point, it's like, let's go. Let's move this along. So I had my second baby, Jack, and my husband, Dave, and I live here in Chapel Hill. And we're just a Tar Heel family. Like we just love it. This is where we met. Dave was a Moorhead Scholar and on the lacrosse team at Carolina. So we're college sweethearts and obviously lived elsewhere, did the New York thing and lived in Boston. And like I said, I was doing soccer travels and going to London and playing all over the place. But we always had roots in Chapel Hill. We always knew that this was where we wanted to eventually end up and raise our family. And so we've been doing just that.
And you saved Carolina Coffee Shop, among other things, right? Helped to save it.
100 years old. Carolina Coffee Shop opened in 1922, and some have visited for decades.
Yeah, people are like, this list of side quests that I'm on from, all these different little projects that I have, I think they just keep me interested. And that started as, just a classic story of us reading. I was going to say reading in the DTH. I'm not sure if it was the DTH or just like an online article, but we read something that Carolina Coffee Shop was going down or going bankrupt. And it just bummed us out. I think more than being particularly connected to the coffee shop itself, it was just a bummer, I think, for us that just loved Franklin Street and loved independent shops doing well. And like, you know, no offense to something like Jimmy John's or something like that, but like we didn't want another Jimmy John's. We want to preserve the character of Chapel Hill. So myself, my husband, and 3 other couples sort of we're bantering over email about like, we should save it. And then, you know, some of the like finance nerds on the email thread were like, all right, let us dig into this a little bit further. And one thing led to another, and we bought it and resuscitated it, I guess you can say. And it was really special because in 2022, we celebrated the 100-year anniversary of the coffee shop. And, you know, obviously after the pandemic and stuff like that, like there's been a lot of success. There's been some challenges along the way. None of us came into this knowing how to run a restaurant, but we've learned, and we're super proud of that. And actually one of my projects was to like work on the interior design and decor and stuff like that. And one day I went to Wilson Library and it was almost like out of a movie. I was down with one of the librarians. It wasn't, you know, I don't want to play it up being so dramatic that we were looking through microfiche. Everything's digital nowadays, but we were looking through digital archives and plugging in keyword of like Carolina Coffee Shop. And, you know, that would pull up everything that the coffee shop had been mentioned in. So there was some articles, for instance, that had, you know, an advertisement for Carolina Coffee Shop on the side. And then the article itself would have been about like World War II. And, you know, it was literally like Stalin and Hitler sit down for talks. And then over to the side, it's like, enjoy this 25 cent steak at Carolina Coffee Shop. And I'm like, it was really cool to kind of like be part of history. I think the community aspect is super important to us. We're very social people and very integrated in the community in a number of ways. Obviously the athletic department, like my husband's a Moorhead, and then we have the coffee shop. So we really do value community, and we realize that this is a special place, and we want to give back to it in a way like that we've received so much from Chapel Hill. I mean, both of us coming here on full scholarships and being, you know, blessed to have an opportunity to go to a great school, give us so many great friends, great memories. And yeah, the coffee shop's just a fun hobby for us to give back to the community.
Well, as a graduate of UNC who went to that very place and then brought my kids eventually to that very place, thank you for that. Now tell us a little bit more about your real project, your passion project right now, because you've been looking at a lot of things, right? All athletes have a competitive void they need to fill in some way. So how are you filling yours at this moment? What's going on with you in soccer?
Yeah, well, when I retired from the game, I knew that I wanted to be very integrated in the sport still. I just didn't know in what way or what avenue. You know, I had my degree from the University of North Carolina as in education. I always loved working with young people, teaching, coaching, running soccer camps, things like that. So I pursued coaching. I was the volunteer assistant at UNC for 3 years, and I love coaching. I think, you know, I feel very at home on the soccer field. You know, obviously, like I said, you've been doing something for 30 years. There's no better feeling than like literally lacing up your boots on a nice blue sky, Carolina blue sky day, and being out there and like fighting through adversity, I think, with people and enjoying the sport, you know. So I do love being on the pitch, and I think that coaching will be part of my life in some way forever, you know, and I've been accumulating my coaching badges, they call them, like coaching licenses, which help you, you know, if I want to coach Division I or if I want to coach in the national teams program, I am preparing myself to be able to do that. But I also love, quite frankly, like other parts of the game too, like being an analyst, a pundit, going, if you can't be on the pitch anymore for World Cups, I say the second best thing is to still be there behind the camera talking about what the players should be doing or the coaches should be doing. So I've enjoyed my work as a pundit, worked with Fox Sports for both the last Women's World Cups, 2019, which I was able to see the women win. And then 2023 was down in Sydney last summer. And I did that one as well. So yeah, I think that there's like a certain performance element to live television that kind of gets that itch a little bit as a pro athlete. That live button comes on the camera and it's go time, it's game time. And I feel the adrenaline and you feel yourself get up to perform at your best. So I like that as well. So I think these last couple of years I've been sort of straddling, okay, should I go all in on coaching? Should I go all in on the media? But at this point, I think I'm happy sort of bridging the two and following opportunities as they come and as they're interesting and quite frankly fit my life. And actually in saying that, these last couple of months, I've had this really cool opportunity as an advisor to a club in Lake Como, Italy, who wanted to build up their women's program. They basically said, we don't know a lot about women's soccer, but we know who does. Heather O'Reilly, the American, because they saw me put together that 7-a-side team at the soccer tournament. All comes down to the soccer tournament.
I didn't know that was part of it.
Yeah, they were there.
Yeah.
So they were there and they saw with their own eyes.
Yeah.
They were impressed and they were like, they're very popular. They're very good. Who's at the head of this? And then, so I've been working with them the last couple of months. So, hey, I've gone global in some of the things that I've been. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. It's
and
making
so
me.
do you go over there much or is this remote?
It's mostly remote, but I'll be going over there about once a month now because it's early days. And as anybody knows, when you're essentially building a business, it's really important to see folks, right? And so I think, later down the line, like I could probably stretch it to maybe every other month, but right now it's pretty important for the players and staff to see me there. And listen, there's worse places to have to go than Lake Como. And it's one of the most beautiful places on earth. So
that's neat. And so you've run marathons as well, right? We were talking off air about that. And most recently, the Berlin Marathon, I think, right? Do you have anything special planned already for your 40th as it's coming up in January, right?
Yeah, Scott, how did you know? I've just been talking to my husband about that. Yeah. The big 4-0 is coming up, which, Jesus, surreal. It's like very bizarre. Like, I remember being a kid and you like look up to people that are 40 and you're like, well, they're a proper adult. They got their whole life together. Now I'm 40 and I'm like, oh, geez. Anyway, so it's right around New Year's Eve. My birthday is January 2nd. So my husband and I were just planning to host a big New Year's party here in Chapel Hill. Hopefully the weather's good. At that time of year, you can get some nice days. You can get some crummy ones. So hopefully the night is great. And we have a big New Year's Eve / Heather's 40th birthday. And of course, the theme is, I think, Jersey Girl, right?
Okay, perfect.
And it's 80s too, because I was born in 85. So there's going to be a lot of teased hair, I think. Big hair. The volume, the hairspray. I don't think it's going to be a great day for the ozone layer. There's going to be a lot of,
Yes, you might have to make a donation.
Exactly. Carbon credit for all the hairspray.
Right, exactly. We'll be back right after this.
Get softer, smoother, and more even-toned skin after just one use with the new Gentle Exfoliating line from Cetaphil. Formulated with a unique triple acid blend that promotes surface skin cell renewal, these gentle chemical exfoliators remove dead skin cells and refine skin's texture while hydrating, resulting in softer, smoother, more even-looking skin. Shop the new Cetaphil Gentle Exfoliating line in the face and body aisles at your local Target store or online at Cetaphil.com.
Welcome back. Back to the UNC women's team for a minute. We actually, when we were taking photos, ran into Anson Dorrance briefly, who's certainly a legend here, and the field's named for him. We were walking on Dorrance Field. But so there's a big changing of the guard there. I mean, he had been here. He was the coach when I was here.
Yeah,
that was forever
I think
ago.
he's at 45 years as head coach.
Yeah, which is almost unheard of these days. Has the UNC women's team, you've followed it and coached it, starred on it, has it changed much since he's left? And was that a job you were interested in at all?
Yeah, I think we'll see where life goes, right? I love this town. Like I said, I love the university. I would say never, right? But Anson, he, for the last few years, has been working with a friend of mine named Damon Nahas, who's been sort of his right-hand guy. And Anson was very keen to pass the program on to Damon this year as interim coach, and then they're going to open up the search for who takes over full time. So we'll see. I think, like I said, I love this university. I love Chapel Hill. UNC has been a big part of my life. So again, I say never, but I think, quite frankly, Anson deserves, in my opinion, to choose his successor, or at least recommend heavily. And if it's Damon, I will put my weight behind Damon and want him to succeed.
And they're having a good season this year, right?
They're having a great season. Yeah. As we were chatting with Anson, I think that they've really come together as a team. And I mean, it's just remarkable. Even if UNC has an off year and people are like sort of picking on them that they've fallen off, we're still talking top 5. Right. Maybe like 7th is an abysmal year right. for Carolina women's soccer. So yes, it's been hard that they haven't won in the last decade, right? The last championship was in 2012.
Really?
Oh yeah, which was a while ago.
That is a long time.
It's a while ago. Yeah. But every year, they're right in the mix. They're still producing very top professionals, are always leading the lists of schools that are sending out pros. So this is a changing environment in women's soccer right now. Like when I went to school, nobody was going pro. Like you'd play 4 seasons. It wasn't even a question. Mm-hmm. And now it's a good thing in a lot of ways, but because the money has become better, and it's like, it is a choice now for maybe a player to pass up on college completely, or maybe go for 1 year, 2 years, and then go professionally. So, we're losing some players to that, because that's what your dreams are.
How much can you make as a top flight women's soccer player nowadays as a pro in either Europe or America?
Yeah.
The
top players,
what are the best ones?
The top players in the world, their salary might be like $350,000 or $400,000 a year. And that's for the best of the best, right? Mm-hmm. In women's football, a lot of your salary comes down to endorsements, shoe deals, things like that. So that's not including that, but that's definitely outliers, right? Those are the Alex Morgans, the Megan Rapinos. But I think some of these young players are coming out. And now when you're faced with the question of making $250,000 to play, with Manchester United or something like that, it's all of a sudden a legitimate choice for you and your family to make, One of those things that I'm kind of glad that I didn't have to face, because man, I would hate to miss the opportunity at UNC that I had, right? So it all played out the way that it was supposed to for me, I guess. But
you missed the money, though.
Well, there was aspects of, I consider myself a medium pioneer, right?
You kind of were a bridge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was kind of the bridge years, right? Mm-hmm. And Mia Hamm and, the 91ers, they would call them. That was the first Women's World Cup. And Anson was the coach of the 91ers. And they always talk about they came back after winning. It's nobody knew. Yeah. Nobody knew here. They probably made a couple $1,000 and their shoe sponsor probably wrote them a card. Well done. Right? There wasn't a lot of money. Right. And then my era came, and I was a true professional, as in I didn't work another job. I was a soccer player. I was a footballer. And so that was the development for me. It wasn't groundbreaking deals, but it was enough that I focused on my craft. And now this generation is, benefiting from things like NIL, from TikTok, from all of it, right? And playing in front of 30,000 people every weekend. We would have a big crowd for World Cups, Olympics, and maybe the final of NCAAs. But now these players are getting it consistently and being compensated accordingly. So it's an exciting time for women's soccer. I feel, so to answer your question, I do think I was a torchbearer, right? And I'm proud of that I took the game, made it a little bit better, passed it on to this next generation who's making it a little bit better. And it's a tradition that I'm definitely very proud of.
Last two things. One is, if you were the head of all of soccer in the world, what rule would you change?
I hate penalty kicks. I think I'm traumatized because I missed some big ones in my day. I actually tell kids this all the time because I missed my junior year at Carolina. I think it was the quarterfinal, so it was somewhat of an early exit for us. I was the only penalty kick taker that got it saved. And it like really did me in for a while mentally. Like I never wanted to take penalty kicks. It's just like you feel a big pressure and like you let people down and it's embarrassing, etc. Even if I did so many good things in the game, right? But I missed the penalty kick. Fast forward though to 2011 World Cup. We're in the final against Japan and we go to penalty kicks. And at that point I was like still kind of scarred. And I pretty much chickened out. Like the coach was like, "Are you up for taking one?" And I was like, "I think we should let somebody else do it," right? And we lost. And I like looked back on that decision, as we all look back on decisions of like things we did do, didn't do, whatever, scared to do. And I'm just like, I could have changed history if I was like just a bit bolder. And, you know, whenever I'm talking to young people, it's like, which penalty kick do you think I regret more? It's definitely the one that I like didn't try and I didn't go for. That's the one that keeps me up at night, not the one that I missed.
So what would you do? Just like have it, just play endless overtimes until someone's scored?
I mean, actually this 7-a-side tournament, as we were talking about, which is just for fun. It's, you know, obviously for the $1 million, which more than for fun, but it has really made some really cool kind of changes to the game. And one of the changes is in overtime, you take a player off because it's a smaller field, you take a player off every minute. Whereas like, I think in 11v11, it would be a player off every 5 minutes. I mean, I think certainly you would, by 8v8, you would definitely be getting a goal. So it's not like it would take that much longer, but that's one thing. I mean, it's just like a basketball player would be like, you don't want to go to a foul shooting contest at the end of the game. It's not the game. It's not like the essence of the game, you know? So as a soccer player, I think that would preserve the integrity of the actual game and, you know, probably people's mental health around penalty kicks.
Last one, we'll end on a happy memory. But tell me what your favorite win was. You've had a bunch of them. You showed us a lot of gold in your life, one way or the other. But was it the Women's World Cup in 2015? I know that's big for footballers, right? Or was it one of the 3 Olympics particularly, or something else? What was the biggest one for you?
No, it's a great question because they're all, you know, clearly special in different ways. I would say, you know, the World Cup gold is ranked high because as a footballer, as you said, as a soccer person, like the World Cup is the pinnacle. Like as much as we love the Olympics as Americans, there's so many sports going on in the Olympics. And it's just, even on the men's side, they don't even send their best teams. It's an under 23 tournament. So it's a little bit more amateur. So it doesn't really hold the same weight as the World Cup. And I won bronze and then silver. And it just seemed like that was like this elusive thing that I just couldn't get over. And so winning 2015 was super special, but I didn't play that much in that tournament. And listen, I'm a team player, right? But you want to be on the field. You want to feel like you're like very influential to the tournament. So there was some Olympics. I would say the play that I was referring to in 2012, that medal means a lot to me because of that one moment that I was able to, again, change history. And it was just due to focus, hard work, being ready, being prepared. So that's super special. But you know what? I love this state. I love Chapel Hill. I love, obviously, Carolina. So winning as a senior at Carolina, even though I've been, you know, at the global level and World Cups, Olympics, winning the NCAA championship as a senior at your, you know, I don't want to say home field, but it was only at Wake Med. So it was 20 minutes away from Chapel Hill. That goes down. That was very special.
Yeah. Who'd y'all beat in that one?
Notre Dame. Of course I remember.
Okay.
Of course I remember. It was, gosh, I'm such a competitive beast. It's crazy. There was this player named Carrie Hanks who her and I were basically up for Player of the Year honors. She scored a ton of goals, so I don't want to take anything away from her. So she won the individual honors like the week prior to the championship game, which, you know, kind of rubbed me wrong. And so it was so like validating to like win what really matters, obviously, and win the trophy. So yeah.
Did you score in that game? Or was
I did score in that game.
The winning goal? Was it 1-0 or something?
I scored the first goal, and then I think Notre Dame scored, and then Casey Nogueira scored to make it 2-1, and we won 2-1. Yeah,
that's
we
exciting.
hung on, and then it was excellent.
Well, Heather, this has been a wonderful conversation. Can't thank you enough for joining us today. Raspy voice and all, you rolled right through it. It's wonderful memories. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Scott.
I'm Scott Fowler, and this is Sports Legends of the Carolinas. Join us next time. Thanks so much for listening to Sports Legends of the Carolinas, a production of the Charlotte Observer. This show is produced by Lume Ali Sally, Jeff Seiner, and Cotta Stevens. The sports editor of the Charlotte Observer is Lydia Craver. The executive editor is Raina Cash. If you know a sports fan, we've got a great gift idea for you. We've compiled the first 2 seasons of the Sports Legends interviews into a coffee table book, which includes more than 100 rare photos. Among the 33 legends in the book are Steph Curry, Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Steve Spurrier, Jake Delhomme, and Dawn Staley. The first printing sold out quickly, but the book is back in stock now, and you can order a copy at sportslegendsbook.com. For lots more sports content, please visit charlotteobserver.com and consider a digital subscription. You can connect with me, Scott Fowler, by email at sfowler@charlotteobserver.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review the Sports Legends of the Carolinas podcast. Thanks for spending some time with us, and we'll see you next time.